episode 1, I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be great, because Harry was open. He was like,
right.
You my baby. We lost your mother at a young age. I always knew something was different about you. And how they had the conversation about, how Harry used to say little things about his brother, and how he has some sugar in the tank, which we could go into that, and how the conversations in the Black community and the Black household can be harmful.
Welcome back to Grown Folks Talking. I'm your host, CK Caesar, with my special co-host,
Lola Chanel.
And today we're going to be talking about the full series on Amazon Prime called Clean Slate, starring George Wallace and Laverne Cox. Lola, a synopsis.
Okay, so we don't have a synopsis for the entire season, so I'll just give you, as we go along, I'll give you each one for each episode. So episode 1 is after 23 years away. Desiree returns home to Alabama to repair her estranged relationship with her old school father, Harry. Together, they must process their new reality as father and daughter. This episode was directed by Nisha Ganatra, written by Dan Ewan, Laverne Cox, and George Wallace. Stars Laverne Cox, Jay Wilkerson, DK Uzoku.
Sure.
We'll get it. I'm so sorry to DK. Let's get into it.
We might disagree to agree to disagree. What were your thoughts?
I thought that I love this feel-good story. I do enjoy this feel-good story. And the world and the climate that we live in today, I think that it is so necessary to love on trans people. I think that it is so necessary to see them have a happier ending, when we know the reality that a lot of people, family members that they grew up with, and people that their past life that they knew, they don't always get this feel good story. So I think overall that it was good. The writing, however, it fell flat in a couple of episodes. Like see, please. It fell flat. I would have loved that some of it were realistic. I would have loved that if it actually went somewhere. Like some of the storylines, I was like, what's going on here?
Why?
Yeah, and I thought I had to check myself, because I was trying to be like, oh my gosh, I loved it, but then I had to realize, like, it's not above reproach. It's not above critique. I can critique it. It fell flat. The writing fell flat. It just wasn't all the way there, and I feel like it could absolutely be all the way there.
That's
your thoughts.
That's where you are very diplomatic. I did not care for it, but I want to say this podcast supports. We are champions of telling our stories.
Yes.
In different ways, and this series was a hard watch for me, mainly because of your issue of falling flat. And I want to take you back. The reason why is it was created by Norman Lear. Although he died in 2023, this show, he had a hand in this show.
Got you.
He produced it.
Okay.
And knowing that, I was like, okay. I watched a lot of Norman Lear content back in the day, so Good Times, One Day at a Time, Sanford and Son, The Jeffersons. I even watched a little episodes of Maude, All in the Family. So what Norman Lear, the reason why he's revered and had all those shows is because he was great at mixing societal issues with comedy. With comedy. So it'd be like, we're talking about racism, but but you have these outlandish great characters like your Archie Bunker, like your George Jefferson, to make that point of view funny. So you're learning, but you're laughing, and he was brilliant at it. And all of his shows kind of did that. It was all centered around like one person. So you had your Fred Sanford. That was the stick in the mud, I'm not gonna change type character. He was over the top, but hilarious. And then everybody, all the characters around them were just like, oh, be a little progressive, or let me show you a different perspective, or let me change your view. And that's where your drama came into. And this show did none of that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that funny.
Okay, so while you were saying that about Sanford and Son and Fred Sanford, it wanted I could tell that it wanted to take an approach of the Miss Pat show. Have you ever seen the Miss Pat show?
Yeah, I've seen an episode. Yeah.
So, Miss Pat is not as progressive, but she's progressive enough to where but it's also enough drama to where it's like, ooh, that was juicy. What's she gonna do? And with this, it was just like peaches and roses and peaches, and she, like, the Laverne Cox character is Desiree Slate. Yeah. Lord. She had obstacles in her way where she, like, I knew that I would get to this point but everybody around me has been so accepting, and everybody around me has just, welcomed me back with open arms. And
except for the pastor, which when we got to that episode, I was like, finally, someone who's portraying a kind of a realistic person, a realistic scenario of, I'm shaking your hand like you're a guy and not hugging you like a woman. And it being the church. So that's where I was like, oh, okay, we get into somebody who's not really feeling you, because
let's be honest, it is Alabama. So if we're in Alabama, if we're sitting now, I'm not saying that people in the South aren't accepting.
Right.
There are some who understand, but the city is older. It's predominantly Black, and let's be honest, the Black community is not very accepting of trans people.
And then the church community on top of that? And the
church community on top of that is also not accepting. So we have everybody accepting Desiree, and what's the baby's name? Yes, who is afraid of just coming out as gay. And I was like, oh, so if everybody is accepting of Desiree, why is he still so scared to come out? Because the only person he would have backlash from is the pastor, and even then, he's still male presenting. He is still has some heteronormative behaviors. Why? That's where I was just like, okay, it's falling flat. It's not.
Yeah.
Lewis, that's his name in this. So Lewis is afraid of coming out to everybody, but he hasn't even come out to his mother technically. Because who is played, his mother is played by Thelma Hopkins, who is I know her from Half and Half.
Well, I know her from Good Times. That's what I know.
She was on Good Times. She was on Good Times.
She looks great, by the way.
She has always looked great for me. She is what I aspire to look like as a lady of the older millennium. But I really was confused as to why they wrote it that way, where he could not be open and out, and he was scared and stereotypically, stereotypically, gay men are more accepted in the church than others.
Right, correct.
Especially if you're not if you're not flashy in their face with it. You can be the stereotype is that the choir director is gay. He was the choir director. Like I just, I would have wanted it to be written in a way where he was so open and proud, and they were both out and proud of it, and they were unapologetic with it, and they let it be known that their faith you can have faith, be a Christian, and also be a part of the LGBTQIA plus community.
Yeah. And then the show could be like having the conflict could be church members who are you're basically church members who are like still no, and the church members are like and then
but they are learning in a way,
especially the mom, because by episode 8 when Walona invites his boyfriend over to the house and he comes out, I'm just like, I was waiting for the line where she was like, I knew you were gay this whole time. I was waiting for the line. All she said was, I love you.
I know, baby. Like, you don't, I know that wasn't your friend. Like, bring me the comedic relief in that.
Yeah.
Where she was like, hallelujah, finally.
Give me
something to work with. Like, it was disappointing. We left off on we talk about the whole season. We left off on a cliffhanger. So hopefully with that, we get to see, like, something more. Mac is falling in love with her. And it was, and
I was like, please no, please don't have him come at that door. Please don't let it be him. I would have loved it if it was the neighbor that she was.
I would have, like,
Latino.
it was.
He had a house. He was single. He had a job.
It was so. I think everything about this was very cheesy and predictable.
Yes.
And while I was so surprised that I had this reaction to this, because I love cheesy and predictable, but it was lacking something. The reaction when we talked to, like, when we first had our initial, like, thoughts before, like, we were like, I mean, I want something more. And the fact that they gave us all 8 episodes and we could see it all at once, there was nothing to look forward to. There was no plot twist. There was no it was funny. I think so. George Wallace was a writer as well. Okay,
them jokes, like, that was all his.
That was off the dome. But I think he's always been a great actor. I've always loved him in things, George Wallace. But so episode 1, we see them come together. After, like you said, 23 long years. So, Desiree, whose dead name is Desmond, left when they were 17. And when she comes back, she's much older. The first thing we see is them trying to navigate, like, George is, Harry's character is like, oh my gosh, my son's coming back. He sent me an email. I haven't seen him in 23 years. I can't wait to see him. I just love him. And he got a welcome home banner, all this stuff. And when Desiree shows up, he's like, hello, pretty lady. It's your fancy looking self. Yeah. He's like, I ain't got no money for you. I ain't got nothing to give you. So, you just have a good day. I'm waiting on my son. And Desiree's like, awkward. This is going to be so crazy. Hi, Harry. He said, how you know my name, girl?
I thought that was a great jumping off point. And as that episode progresses, where he made the point of, you send the email that you are coming home, but you didn't send
hello.
You didn't let me know that you are now a woman. So I was like, yeah. That's a valid point.
I've been surprised. You just come here and just say, hey girl, how you doing? And I want to get your take, because episode 1, I was like, oh my gosh, this is gonna be great, because Harry was open. He was like, you my baby. We lost your mother at a young age. I always knew something was different about you. And how they had the conversation about, how Harry used to say little things about his brother, and how he has some sugar in the tank, and and how, and which we could go into that, and how the conversations in the Black community and the Black household can be harmful to the unknown eye, because you think that just because nobody's around and watching, I would love. Let's talk about it, but we can talk about that later.
So that first episode, I was like, oh, we're getting into some serious issues,
Nitty
not
gritty.
just the transition, but trauma of
Mm-hmm.
me living in a body that I did not recognize, that I do not want to be in, or living and having to put on this charade, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that you said that may have made me not feel safe and feel
Comfortable
loved,
or
comfortable.
just
I was like,
yeah.
yeah, let's get into it.
Let's
And
get into it.
and they didn't. Essentially, I was like,
Like
I was like,
we
so
we got a snippet. Like I would have
right,
loved an entire episode where we unboxed like, and I can't remember because I definitely did do half the episodes and then another half of the episodes to like try and stay fresh.
right,
Did Harry ever write the letter to Desiree? Like an
yeah,
actual letter?
I think so. I believe so. Like,
I can't remember.
yes,
What did it say?
it came a little bit later.
Okay.
Well, actually, the letter was like, it was something, because he was like, write a letter to your old self. And I think Harry wrote something like, go, something menial, like, go to the grocery store and stuff and
Mm-hmm.
get me
Get some
something.
cereal or something.
Something like that. I was like, that's not what she meant when she said write a letter. And then eventually he says something kind of poignant. And then that was the end of the episode, if I remember correctly. But so overall, we're kind of saying the same thing, that there was plenty topics to tackle,
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't do that. So I was, especially like I said, with the cachet of Norman Lear, I was very disappointed that issues were either lightly touched on or not even brought up. One that came off the dome was Mac and him being out of prison. The episode about voting, and he was like, I can't vote because I'm an ex-con. I was like, yes, let's get into it. And
That we
then
didn't
that's
get.
not what
We got a lot of appetizers and dessert and no entree.
no entree. And then that same episode was the police stopping Lewis with the cars parked. And I was like, is this racism or voter suppression? And then the dialysis ladies walking,
And the
and he
compression
said,
socks.
in the compression stock, and he said, it'll take us 20 minutes to polls close in 20 minutes. So you're telling me
Them ladies got there in 20 minutes.
with the cane?
There were so many nuances in there that I just feel like we could have delved deeper into them. And I don't it just could have been better, guys. There's no way around it. It could have been better.
It definitely could have.
It was great. I love the story of it all. I love the fact that throughout all 8 episodes, we got to see Desiree, Laverne Cox, be portrayed, like, be loved on by her community, loved on by her family, be loved on by the people who watched her grow up. And then they didn't get to see her transition, but they get to see her now and accept her. Let's get into Opal. Opal was my favorite character.
Yeah, she was fun.
We love
I really liked her.
The little sassy white girl who's about her business and her paper. Mm-hmm. I love that. I did enjoy seeing her character thrive and flow, ebb and flow. I would have loved to see more of Miguel, who was a neighbor, who's a Latino neighbor. Yes. And genuinely like to see how really why their beef started. Like, I would have loved to see like flashbacks. Like, agreed. I hopefully,
because it didn't make sense. Like, why are y'all so at odds? It doesn't make too much sense to me. Like the episode with the Dungeons and Dragons where he's sneaking around and he thought it was. I was like, oh, you're not about to get back in. Yeah. Mac. And I was like, oh, you're not about to get into a life of crime. This is a fake out. And then I was like, yes, y'all are playing Dungeons and Dragons. And then I was like, well, why couldn't you just knock on the man's door or go? I don't know.
Because Mac and Harry are friends and really close. And Harry and Miguel don't like each other. So they felt they had to sneak around. But I would have loved to know why. Miguel started doing the taxidermy thing to piss off Harry. Like, how can we
Yes.
get a backstory about that? Like, but
Right.
overall, I like.
There are rumors that there might be a season 2, and if there
Well, we left
is,
off on a cliffhanger.
I mean, yeah, with Gavin, which you knew, I was like, when the knock came, I was like, it's either Mac, but I hope it's Gavin, and it was Mac. And she got booed up, and I was like, this dude, because when she said
I
I can,
deserve better.
I was like, you do.
Don't settle, girl. I mean, he can't even vote.
So I'm just saying, you kind of do. That's why I was like,
It
Team
was
Miguel, but that's not
not
where the
Team
show.
Miguel.
That wasn't where this show was going. So I was like, this dude. And the whole she wasn't interested, but he takes off his shirt and I was just like,
And I said, that puny white man, girl, you going up for that? Come on now, be for real. I said, oh brother. We said
I,
he's not even buff. He's not
it
even
was
tan.
the whole series. I was like, if this was done back in Norman Lear heyday, it may be a little bit more palpable, but my whole point is they never tackled issues like they could have, because there was plenty to talk about,
There
and
was
they
so
did
much to
not.
talk about. Like, I hated the fact that we waited all the way into episode 8 for her to have this come to Jesus moment about her
Yep.
life in New York, or the fact
Yep.
that she had lost all her friends. She like I could tell that because she had to start crawling back, she had nobody. Her community that she once knew was no longer in. If you've ever watched Pose, she was
Yes.
given
Oh yeah.
Electra. We could have seen her be rude
Mm-hmm.
and nasty and mean like Electra. Like
Absolutely.
I wanted to see
All
the
hail the
backstory.
queen.
Yes, I wanted to see the backstory of how you spent 23 years in New York, and how the actions led you to your consequences of being back in Alabama. There was so many holes in the plot, and
Mm-hmm.
that's the most disappointing, because like we've been saying, we want the trans community to have this beautiful story where they can go home and they aren't constantly being called their dead name, and
Mm-hmm.
be around the people that they've known. But I also want to know the realistics of it
Right.
all.
Right.
They were in Alabama. They were in Mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mobile.
they were in the deep South. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we're
Yeah.
2 seconds away from Jim Crow laws being thrown at us again. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just think that while I do love unrealistic plots, I wanted more. I wanted more. And
Yeah, it was underwhelming, which is unfortunate. They're thinking about it. It got decent reviews, or there's a possibility of a season 2.
it
I
got
won't
great
be
reviews.
I won't be there, but
Yeah.
I hope that it found a home, and that people who like season 1 can show up for season 2. It
I'm
got
gonna
good
watch
reviews, so
season 2. Yeah, it's overall the rating of it all is 8.5, and our favorite shows don't even have the 8.5. I think
that's
the show that we both like,
how
Heist,
did that long?
no,
Oh,
Millionaire, that too. Those both have like 6 and 7 star ratings, and this has
mm-hmm.
8.5.
Well, good. They showed up. I will say the one thing that I thought about when the whole Norman Lear of it all was they did remake a Norman Lear show on Netflix, One Day at a Time, that I
Oh.
watched, but they changed it. So originally, One Day at a Time was about a single mom raising 2 girls in an apartment, and she had a nosy fix it man, Schneider. But in this updated series, it was a Latino family. So it was a single
Mm.
mom raising a Latino boy and a teenage daughter, and then the person who was the Archie Bunker, the over the top, was the the mom's mother, who was played by Rita Moreno, who you may know from West Side Story. She's won first Latina woman to win an Oscar for her
Oh
portrayal of
yeah.
Anita. Yeah. So she was over the top, and
Oh, I literally know that show.
yeah, that was a take on a Norman Lear show, one day at a
I
time. They
love
named
that
it all, but it
show.
was a Latino family. But how they updated it was the daughter was queer,
Yes.
and they dealt with issues
And
like
she wore a suit to
immigration.
her. She wore a suit to her quinceanera,
Yes, yes,
and she was waiting for her dad. And so,
that's
yeah, I was
right,
when you said it, I was like, I feel like I don't be knowing the names of shows
right.
sometimes.
That was a good show. And it was like, it was funny. It
Yeah,
dealt with topical issues, and then it was just like a spin using a Latino family as the base to talk about different issues in Latino culture. So there is a way to do it updated and it'd be cool. I think they only went like 3 seasons,
that had
and then
entrees all up and through it.
yes, entrees all up and through it. And I wish this show did that. So hopefully, if season 2 is greenlit, they can do that. They can give us some entrees. Give me some meat, because
Absolutely, give me
I want like,
some. Give me some.
yeah,
Let me know something.
absolutely.
I mean, I did. And another thing that pissed me off, because like I think that Max should have stood 10 tones down when she finally came back and he had a lady and she was like, "I want
Yeah,
you." And then she said, she was like, I'm hitting rock bottom like that right now." And he was like, "Whoa, I'm not your rock bottom. The hell? Like, what you got going on? I'm not your." And you thought because you're hitting rock bottom that I want to come? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Let me.
be at your bottom. Yeah,
You be at your bottom. You
right.
be you be at your bottom, and then we'll go from there.
And the other lady just left so quickly. I was like, that was
But the
not written
way
well, because
her
there was no
it was
reason for her.
it was if it I would like to delve deeper into that in season 2, because it's the way she left. Her acting was, her physical acting was like, that's not a woman.
Oh,
She did the
okay.
she did the
Oh,
when she saw her, she was like,
yeah.
"Oh, oh." And
I,
I
I
mean,
I was like, you were having a good time. She immediately just like, I'm finna leave, and I was like, oh, they weren't even very combative in their
I
conversation.
think
It,
she saw Desiree and she instantly was like, "Oh, ah,
all right,
black,
give me yes, trans,
trans."
yeah.
See,
I've
like
been.
that would have.
Let's go there.
Let's go there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go
Mm-hmm.
there.
All right. Overall, what would you, on a scale of 1 to 10? What would you give this show?
I'm gonna have to give it a 5.
Ooh, yeah, I'm about a 4. That's my lowest rated ever.
Oh
About
my
a 4.
gosh, I'm gonna have to give it a 5.
Mm-hmm.
I like the running theme of today's episode is, guys, I would have wanted more. And I know you took your time with it. It was a labor of love. But I wanted more. I wanted more of a backstory.
Yeah.
How did Desiree's mom, how did Harry's wife
Yeah.
die? What
Yeah. We
happened?
don't.
Can we get a flash? I would have loved a flashback of when Desiree was in her room and her mom loving on her or giving her
Mm-hmm.
words of encouragement as she is Desiree now and not Desmond. Like I would love
Mm-hmm.
like a ghostly mother moment. Like I would have loved more. I love
Yes.
that Harry was riding for Desiree. I love that he was
Yeah.
like, "Y'all not finna play with my baby." I would have loved in the episode where there was Mardi Gras, where he was like, "Do you know what they doing to people like her? I need to protect
Yes.
her. I need her. I don't need her
Mm-hmm.
just being out here by herself." I would have loved for him to be like, "I read this article and trans people are dying every day." Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's while we do know that trans people are being slaughtered in the streets
Yes.
daily because of who
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm-hmm.
are.
Yeah.
I would have loved if they actually said that and not insinuated it. Like there was so many plot holes to what it could have been great. It could have been amazing. So for season 2, guys, let's pivot and make it right. I'm not saying get rid of all the comedic relief, but like give us some reality with it as well. Give us a dose.
Give us a dose. That's all we ask for. Give us a dose.
Give us a dose.
I agree with I agree with everything you said. I want it more, and I hope season 2 gives it more.
Absolutely.
You have to tell me, because I'm gonna be watching something else.
I'm gonna tell you. Cause
tell me.
These stories need to be told. And because at least 4 of the main characters were Black, I just need more of it. Our stories are like, last night I was talking to my best friend, and we were talking about, like, you know, the stories that people gravitate to. Like, some of our stories are being mishandled, while all Black stories and the tropes of Black people, because we are not a monolith, are being told. Some of them are being saturated and not being told correctly. So I need them to come back with season 2, please. I'm gonna watch it. C is not watching it, y'all. She's not. She said she's out. I'm gonna be there, guys. Don't let it go away.
I'm deuced. And on that note, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment. We're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We're on Blue Sky. We're even on Lemonade.
What? Yeah. We down to the Lemonade.